just tears me up in the inside. So I found that the best way to deal with conflict for me is to forgive whatever it was that person did. Now, why do I do that? Forgive, the simplest definition I would say is the love that you give before forgive. Before they even ask for, before they ask you to or apologize or anything, because I need to free, like you said, emotionally and psychologically, I need to free myself so that I can continue to move forward. So actually forgiveness first is for my benefit before theirs, because it releases me from their captivity. Because I have known when I have, before I got to this point, something will happen and yeah, you try to avoid the person and probably you can for years, but every time that thing comes up, it takes control over everything else that you're doing. It saps your energy and it just messes you up. So I just decided that as soon as I find that someone has done something that is wrong, my first thing is, which is my refuge, is I just need to forgive them. I must forgive them because I must move on. And if they ever come back to acknowledge or we talk about it, that's fine. You know, but even if they don't, because in many cases sometimes they don't. But I will have moved forward. So I forgive, and I define forgive as the love that you give before the person comes to deserve it.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Yeah, everything that just was said. The reason that that's important in an influence model, right, is because there is something even greater to be achieved. And that, for me, is why forgiveness becomes so crucial. It's not just my own freedom and the ability to free the situation. It's because I have a bigger cause to be fulfilled, and I will not be deterred from that cause. And I want us to think about that, because all of these things seem like, oh yeah, I get that. I want to take it deeper, because our ability, these are subtle and nuanced things, but they are the biggest things in actually being able to influence. There are these circumstances where we go and we forgive and then take it further in that forgiveness to what is possible with that person or within ourselves, because we hold nothing back. Think about a world situation where there is great cause to take offense. There are many. Great cause to take offense. And how do we meet those things? How do we engage the conflict without having conflict with another human being? The ability to influence an outcome, influence a situation, not control it, whether it's a personal relationship or a dilemma in a country, comes from having the goal of the bigger outcome that is a win-win-win for everybody involved, and holding ourselves accountable within that space, keeping us very, very grounded, very rooted, and not giving into short-term, what's the word I'm looking for?
Immediate gratification.
Yes, thank you, immediate gratification. However, at the same time, conflict can actually be very productive. Tell me your name again, darling.
I'm Billy.
Billy, that's right. We've met before, Billy. And I want to just thank you for that, because conflict can be had with ideas, conflict can be had with actions, with philosophies. When we hold conflict with another human being, we are actually engaged in conflict that will not produce peace, because we are all together. We are all one, and we have to find resolutions. Even if it takes a lot of time, we have to find resolutions that are going to utilize whatever is in front of us, which could be conflict, in order to achieve a peaceful win-win-win resolution. It may take time. Number 4 is modesty. An influencer knows how to be modest. And what I think about when I say modesty is I don't take anything personally. Right? And not taking anything personally, that is true modesty, where we're just like, yeah, I don't know, but this doesn't really have anything to do with me. I love you, I care about you, and I'll let you figure that out, and I trust you to do it. Right? An influencer is always also someone who doesn't need to have the spotlight, doesn't need to be right, or doesn't even necessarily need to be understood, right? Because in the need to be understood, we are still making it about us. So an influencer is somebody who can reach a bigger goal by letting go of these ideas. Number 5, accountability to the higher purpose that we've been talking about. This is one of the most important things. Whether it's your child and you're looking at your child and wanting them to go to a good school when they grow up, or you're looking at yourself and what you want to go toward next in your career, or whether you're looking at a relationship, or you have the ability to make decisions that will influence and affect hundreds, thousands, or millions of people, it's all the same. When we are clear about serving a higher purpose, our decisions and our actions are going to be able to be influential from underneath instead of trying to control from the top down. In this particular situation, I had a woman who, let's see if I can shorten this down. I met with a woman the other day. She's Indian, living here, and she's working with villages to get the women connected to services, medical services. And she keeps going in, and they have hospital services, and she brings in doctors' units and all of these things and wants them to get the medicines they need, and wanting the girls to have sanitary supplies that they need, and all of these different things. And she keeps running up against these problems, and she only has about a 40% success rate of getting women into these services, and probably even lower of actually keeping them there. Why? Anybody want to venture any guesses? Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more then. The interesting thing, as she and I were talking, is she had this idea in her head: women need to have a voice. I'm going to make sure women have a voice. That is her big driving desire in this. And so I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this because you need to do this. She's an amazing woman. She's an attorney. She's done, work to work with these women in rural villages to get them, say these are your rights, and you're in these bad situations, and you need to stand up for your rights. You need to do these things. And then she comes back and wants to do these medical services, which are very good, right? The purpose is very, very good. Her approach to it was, I know best. I know best for you, and if you'll just listen to me, then you'll have what you'll need. You'll do what you need to do. Anybody want to weigh in on why that's a problem? Why that doesn't work very well?
Well, she didn't get a buy-in from the others, so they weren't part of the same dream. It was her dream, but they just sort of executed. They were like soldiers; they just followed, but they didn't really sort of get married with that purpose.
Beautifully said. That's exactly right. Who else has some ideas on that? Why it didn't work? Why it didn't take? Any ideas? So the interesting thing when we walked into this together was for her to start to get herself out of the way, where she had to look at the fact that when she walked in the door in the first place, she had the opportunity to create a very precious small window. And that precious small window is the relationship of trust. The relationship of trust is not based on, I know and I can know for you. The relationship of trust is based on, I have a higher purpose that I'm serving, and we're going to get to the rest of these. I know that you are powerful, the most powerful person in your life. I want to know who you are. I want to work with you towards the goals that you have. She didn't have the buy-in because they couldn't see the vision, right? They couldn't see the vision of what more was possible for themselves. How do you get somebody to see a vision of what more is possible in a circumstance, whether it's we want to bring fresh water into the situation, or I'm in the corporate boardroom and we have to solve this problem or it's going to be detrimental to the company. We have to figure out how to be influential in these ways. So, number 6 is respect. It's a single word, and we can give it that cursory glance. But the very first thing that I want to say is we have to be able to respect ourselves, first and foremost. If we can respect ourselves and know that no matter what happens, in the situation, conflict or no, and we can walk away from it, then we have the ability to influence the situation. And when we can take that respect, when we have that respect for ourselves, it becomes natural to respect every other person there, right? How do we take that respect further? How do we take that respect further in an influential situation? No takers? All right. We can agree to disagree and hold no conflict on the inside against another person. And that's not the answer to my question. I'm just going to move into that next. When we can agree to disagree, so you and I are having this conversation, and you are very passionate about what you're talking about, and I am very passionate about what I'm talking about, and there's a fundamental disagreement. How do we handle that?
I'm going to pick that one back and say, what we're learning as we're talking here, just that understanding that that person's opinion is important, even though I don't understand it. But I think it would be important for me to acknowledge to them, not just to think it in my heart and keep expressing my own thoughts, but to actually acknowledge that, you know what, I'm sorry that I really can't get what you're saying, but I'm sure that there is some truth and you must be right there because, I'm handicapped because I can only see from where I'm standing, but I'm sure if I was in your shoes, with a little more thought, I would see what you're saying.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'll agree with you now. And sometimes we do that, and we still come to a place where we disagree on something, right? We disagree. We understand. We give all of that to each other, and then what do? So I have this with my parents, right? There's some fundamental things between us, things that are truths for me in my life at the core level that my parents absolutely cannot. They can't agree or support or whatever. And how do I engage with that in a way that's not going to produce conflict, that's going to shut down our relationship? How do I do that? How do we do that with people we care about? How do we do that in these bigger situations? And the thing that I know is this statement right here. I reach out, I take somebody's hand and I say, we're going to have to agree to disagree. And I love you and I respect you. And in that, we can actually move forward. And the reason I want to say this is because in being able to influence, it's not always going to produce the agreement every single time. And we need to know how to meet those conflicts with people we love and care about, and with investments into big situations, and be able to say, we're going to have to agree to disagree, and I love you and I respect you. And as we're able to say that, then you and I can move forward. We can continue to have a relationship that is even deeper as a result. And that is influence. That is influence right there. Good.